Meditation on the bomb. Here we have to think ahead, assuming further that fringe and middle correspond more deeply to one another than seems obvious at first glance. On the surface, the lifestyle of the punks and that of the establishment seem to be irreconcilable, but at bottom they are very close. Cynical eruptions are catapulted out of the catastrophile masses of civilization. For that reason, the philosophical, the comprehending approach to phenomena must not limit itself to subjective excesses, but must begin with the objective excesses. Objective excess is nothing other than the excess of structural unrest that characterizes our form of life, even in its saturated phases and in the intervals between wars. At the end of the Second World War, the Earth's weapon potential sufficed for a multiple extinction of every citizen on Earth. As we approach the Third, the extermination factor has been multiplied by hundreds, even thousands. The overkill atmosphere becomes denser by the minute. The factor grows monthly, and its growth is, in the final analysis, the determining agent of our history. The overkill structures have become the actual subject of current development. In the First, as well as in the Second World, an enormous preparation of social labour flows into these structures. At the moment, preparations are being made for a renewed escalation. But this is not our theme here. In view of these hard facts, the task of philosophy is to pose child's questions, like the following. Why don't people get along with each other? What compels them to prepare for their mutual atomization? Philosophers are those who can put aside the hardened, habituated and cynically versed contemporary in themselves, who, without further ado, can make clear to that contemporary in 2 or 3 sentences why everything is the way it is, and why it cannot be changed with good intentions. The philosopher must give a chance to that inner child who does not yet understand all this. Those who do not yet understand it can perhaps pose the right questions. All wars are at root the consequence of the principle of self-preservation. In the competition among political groups, war has been an age-old means of establishing and defending the existence, identity and form of life of a given society against the pressure of a rival. Since time immemorial, realists assume a natural right to self-preservation of the individual group and to military self-defense of the group attacked. The morality that legitimates the suspension of morality in war is that of self-preservation. Those who fight for their own life and its social forms stand, according to the conviction of all previous realistic mentalities, beyond the ethics of peace. When one's own identity is threatened, the prohibition of killing is suspended. That which constitutes the basic taboo in times of peace becomes a duty in times of war. Indeed, a maximum of killing is even honoured as a particularly worthy achievement. All modern military ethics, however, have abolished the image of the aggressive hero because it would interfere with the defensive justification for war. Modern heroes all want to be mere defenders, heroes of self-defense. One's own primarily aggressive component is uniformly denied. All professional soldiers see themselves as protectors of peace, and attack is solely a strategic alternative to defence. The latter remains the real priority over all military modes of behaviour. Defence is nothing more than the military counterpart of what is called self-preservation in philosophy. This cynical self-denial of every morality is guided by the principle of self-preservation, which anticipates the moment of truth and arms itself with a freestyle ethics without illusions. If we look at today's world from this perspective, boundless proliferation of this principle of defence strikes us. East and West, both armed to the teeth, confront one another as giants of self-defence. In order to be able to defend itself, each party has produced instruments of destruction that suffice for the absolute annihilation of human, animal, and even plant life. In the shadow of atomic weapons, even the deadly specialties of war biologists and chemists are usually overlooked. In the name of self-preservation, a reckless sadism, disguised as defence, has flourished in the minds of the researchers of destruction. An old Oriental master of torture would have an inferiority complex by comparison. However, we do not want to impute unusually evil motives to any party or any of those in charge. Everyone probably does what he can within the realm of the possible. However, this realm itself has its malicious peculiarities. It seems that a certain form of realism has come close to its imminent limits, namely that realism that adopted war as ultima ratio of political self-preservation in its mode of reckoning. This realism should not be retrospectively condemned. It has had its time and done its work. For the good perhaps, for evil certainly. It must be observed, however, that this ultima ratio realism is bankrupt. Today's politics of disarmament has only apparently grasped this, that behind it there is no real insight, is revealed by the fact that the negotiating nations are playing a double game. That behind it there is no real insight is revealed by the fact that the negotiating nations are playing a double game. While they talk, they frantically build up stockpiles. The question, as mad as it seems, is basically whether only armament should be pursued, or whether armaments plus talking is better. In this way, I maintain, a solution will never be found. Following this way, the arms race can only end in war. The wild proliferation of the principle of defence precludes all other possibilities. The ultimate war has truly become an internal matter of armed humanity. In it, it is a matter of breaking through the principle of harsh self-preservation with its archaic and modern ultima ratio of war. For this unforeseen struggle on the inner front against the deadly realism of political self-defence, the strongest allies are truly needed. On this front, overpowering weapons, fear-inducing strategies, and cunning manoeuvres are required. In this respect, we are not without hope. The arsenals are full. Among the weapons now being made ready for use are collected all imaginable monstrosities: nerve gases, microbe armies, gas clouds, bacteria squadrons, psychedelic grenades, astro cannons, and death rays. We do not want to undervalue the accomplishments of these means, but the philosopher is drawn again and again by an old dependency back to the H-bomb, because its nuclear mode of operation challenges contemplation most of all. Nuclear fission is in any case a phenomenon that invites meditation. And even the nuclear bomb gives the philosopher the feeling of here also really touching on the nucleus of what is human. Thus the bomb basically embodies the last, most energetic enlightener. It teaches an understanding of the essence of splitting. It makes completely clear what it means to set up a me against a you, an us against a them, to the point of a readiness to kill. At the summit of the principle of self-preservation, it teaches how to end and conquer dualisms. The bomb carries the last hope and task of Western philosophy, but its pedagogical procedure still seems unusual to us. It is so cynically crass and so suprapersonally hard that one is reminded of Eastern Zen masters who do not hesitate to punch their pupils in the face if it helps their progress towards enlightenment. The atomic bomb is the real Buddha of the West, a perfect sovereign apparatus without bonds. It rests unmoving in its silos. Purest reality and purest possibility. It is the epitome of cosmic energies and human participation in these, the highest achievement of human beings and their destroyer, the triumph of technical rationality and its sublation, Aufhebung, into the paragnostical. With it we leave the realm of practical reason, where ends are pursued through appropriate means. The bomb has long since ceased to be a means to an end, for it is the boundless means that exceeds every possible end. However, since it can no longer be a means to an end, it must become a medium of self-experience. It is an anthropological event, an extreme objectification of the spirit of power that works behind the drive to self-preservation. Although we built it to defend ourselves, it has in fact yielded for us a defencelessness without parallel. It is a consummation of the human in its evil aspect. We cannot get any more evil, intelligent, or defensive. The bomb is really the only Buddha that Western reason could understand. Its calm and its irony are infinite. It makes no difference to it how it fulfills its mission, whether in mute waiting or as a fire cloud. For it, the change of aggregate circumstances has no relevance. As with Buddha, everything that could be said is said through its mere existence. The bomb is not one bit more evil than reality, and not one bit more destructive than we are. It is merely our unfolding, a material representation of our essence. It is already embodied as something whole, whereas we, in relation to it, are still split. Confronted by such a machine, strategic considerations are not appropriate, but a heightened attentiveness is. The bomb demands of us neither struggle nor resignation, but self-experience. We are it. In it, the Western subject is consummated. Our most extreme armament makes us defenceless to the point of weakness, weak to the point of reason, reasonable to the point of fear. The only question that remains is whether we choose the external path or the inner path, whether insight will come from critical reflections or from fireballs over the earth. All external paths, no matter how well intended they may be, come together, as our experience shows again and again, in the irresistible flow towards armament. All inner paths, even when they appear awfully unrealistic, flow together in the single tendency that furthers real pacification. The modern world process led to a point beyond which the most external path, politics, and the most inner path, meditation, speak the same language. Both revolve around the principle that only a relaxation of tensions can help us along. All secrets lie in the art of conceding, of not resisting. Meditation and disarmament discover a strategic common interest. If that's not an ironic result of modernity. Grand politics today is, in the final analysis, meditation on the bomb, and deep meditation seeks the urge to build bombs in us. Meditation works gently on everything that has solidified internally as the crust of a so-called identity. It dissolves the armour behind which an ego sits that feels itself to be the defender of its basic values. The strategists of armament say, "We have the better values." The bomb is a damned ironic machine that is good for nothing, and yet produces the most powerful effects. Even though it may be our Buddha, it nevertheless has the sarcastic devil within itself. One must have put oneself in its interior in order to feel what it means to explode in the cosmos with a complete dissolution of the self. It can do this at any time. A similar pandemonium and laughter reigns at the core of the igniting explosive mass as in the interior of suns. To know that one has such a possibility at one's disposal gives a unique superiority. Deep down, the human spirit knows itself to be in solidarity with its eerie and ironic sun machine. Those who look carefully can observe every now and then how the bombs seem to smile mockingly to themselves. If we were only alert enough to perceive this smile, something would have to happen that the world has never experienced. It could become fearless and feel how relaxation looses the archaic cramps of defence. Good morning, Miss Neutron, how are you? The bombs become the night watchmen of our destructiveness. If we awake then, like the entreating voices at the end of Hermann Broch's Schlafwandler, sleepwalkers, the 1,000 bombs will talk to us, for it is the voice of humanity and of the people, the voice of solace and of hope and of the immediate good. Don't do yourself any harm, for we are all still here.